Is up, everybody? Welcome back to my podcast. Hope you guys are having a wonderful, I believe today's Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday, May 11th. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. And we're talking, of course, about the NFL. This is something that we tried to talk about mostly as much as we possibly can, since it is the biggest sport here in America. Who doesn't love the NFL? So we're just going to jump right in. Biggest news today. Today's been relatively slow. I guess it depends on who you are a fan of. If you're a Jaguars fan, you could be possibly conflicted. If you're a Green Bay Packer fan, you should definitely be conflicted. But we're going to jump right in to every news, because we talk about every single team, not just the biggest news in the NFL. Broncos signing offensive tackle Ryan Pope. Okay, so that's pretty good. They're having depth at the position. We saw what Drew Lock was able to do with a okay offensive line last year. Now they have Teddy Bridgewater. They did not draft a quarterback, surprisingly. The Broncos did. But it's definitely interesting to see what's going on in the NFL whenever it comes to the Denver Broncos, who are actually a favorite to land Aaron Rodgers if he were to be traded. So the Broncos are very interesting. We all know that they are in the AFC, and especially they're in the same division as the Kansas City Chiefs, which is something that's very big. If you look at the rest of the division, AFC West, you have the Broncos, the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Chiefs. All very good teams. Maybe the Raiders, I would say, would be the worst team. We have Justin Herbert with the Chargers, and I know they had a pretty bad record last year, but I think they're definitely on the upside. I wouldn't worry about the Raiders. I'm very curious about what you guys think about their recent draft picks. I know that a lot of people are giving Mike Mayock a lot of slack because he's picking these guys who have a very low grade very early. We saw this last year. When they picked up the defensive end in the first round. They also got Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs turned out to be pretty good, but I don't think he was going to be selected anytime soon. If I'm not mistaken, I know he had a lower grade than what he was taking at. So I'm very curious to see where the Raiders going to go. They still have Derek Carr. They managed to retain Marcus Mariota, who I thought was going to be gone after that one amazing game, or one amazing half. Actually, I think it was a quarter, if I'm not mistaken, after Derek Carr went down. So that's going to be very interesting. I thought Marcus Mariota was going to get picked up maybe by the Patriots. I know if I'm a team who needs a quarterback bad, I would absolutely try to pick up Marcus Mariota. He would be relatively cheap. I think he signed for like $3 million instead of the $9 million he was supposed to be making. So that was very interesting to see him go back to the same team. If I'm a team that needs a quarterback, maybe the Houston Texans, because they're still uncertain about their team. But Steelers, maybe the Steelers need a team. But going back to the AFC West, you have the Chiefs, obviously, and the Chargers, and that's pretty much all you have if you're the Denver Broncos. I think they have a very good team. They have Noah Fant. They have pretty good receiving core. I believe they still retained Melvin Gordon. I'm not 100% sure on that. If you guys want to double check to make sure that I'm right, but they have a pretty good squad. They have a pretty good defense. I don't know what it would take to get Aaron Rodgers. That might be a little bit different. Might be giving up a few first round picks, maybe the linebacker that they took a few years ago, the number 1 overall pick. I mean, not number 1 overall, but the first round pick. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see what the Denver Broncos are going to give up if they are in the sweepstakes for Aaron Rodgers. Now we're going to get to Aaron Rodgers a little bit sooner with some breaking news that broke earlier today by Ian Rappaport from the NFL. So, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, definitely the Broncos are on the up and coming. But they did sign a offensive tackle, and they're building their team in a very efficient way. If you look at, they have the defense, they have the running game, they have the wide receivers, they have the tight ends, and now they're building up their offensive line, which was an absolute need. So props to the Broncos. They're the favorites in the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. I hope that's true, but it's very interesting to see what's going to be happening soon. And I think it's gonna happen soon. I don't think it's gonna wait too long. I know they're also planning to work out veteran tackles Dennis Kelly, Cameron Fleming, Bobby Massey on Wednesday, so that's going to be very interesting to see. And I know that Jawan James suffered a torn Achilles a week ago, so that's definitely going to be out for the rest of the year. And even when he does come back, it's going to be very interesting to see if he comes back 100%. So you still have a missing right tackle on the opposite side of Garrett Bowles, who was a pretty good offensive tackle last year. So yeah, I'm excited to see what the Broncos do. I definitely think they're building up a very much needed need. And I'm excited to see what they do. Moving on, we have the Atlanta Falcons making headlines again. I know their GM came out. I know the quarterback coach came out and said that Matt Ryan still has a lot to give. I personally don't think so. Obviously, I am not the Atlanta Falcons quarterback coach, so I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Matt Ryan. I know they're not going to cut him. I know they're not going to trade him because that's too much money in dead cap. So that's going to be very interesting if you are a Atlanta Falcon fan. I know I'm not, but I've seen enough if I'm the Atlanta Falcons. So I definitely would have taken a quarterback, who was still Justin Fields was still there at number 4. So I'm excited. So it was Trevor Lawrence was number 1, Zach Wilson was number 2, and Trey Lance was number 3. So you still had 2 picks of your top 5 quarterbacks, and they chose none. They decided to go with the best tight end prospect in a very long time, and maybe that's a good thing if they're able to keep Julio Jones and Matt Ryan goes back to the MVP year, which I don't think it's going to happen soon. It's going to be very interesting. They're a tough team to beat. They're talented. They just don't have what it takes to win games and know how to win. And especially in the playoffs, I know they had that one miraculous postseason when they went against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, but they haven't been there since. So I'm excited to see what happens. I know that another news breaking from Atlanta is their running back position. This is intriguing because they did let go they basically let go of their entire running backfield last year. Todd Gurley, he's gone. He was the number 1 running back in the Atlanta Falcons uniform. They had Brian Hill. He was the number 2 running back, and they let go of Idle Smith. So they came in with 3 running backs this offseason. They left without any, and they just signed few running backs. So they're going to be definitely competing against each other. Running backs coach Desmond Kitchens told reporters Monday that he's considering it to be open competition for snaps heading into the offseason workouts. That's reported by the NFL. Let me look up who exactly said it. Kevin Patra. Definitely want to give their props. I'm just here to debate and talk about what's going on in the sports world and relay that to you guys. That way you guys don't have to worry about it. Just listen, sit back, and watch your podcast. So with the whole Todd Gurley thing, he didn't look right all season long. I know he had that one mental breakdown where he was supposed to fall down before getting to the touchdown, and Matt Ryan told him, we all saw the film. If you guys haven't, it's pretty funny. You guys should look it up. Matt Ryan literally said to him personally, straight to face in his eyes, and he said, "Don't get a touchdown, fall down." I'm paraphrasing, obviously, because I don't remember the exact quote. Todd Gurley say, "Yeah, for sure." Once again, paraphrasing, I don't know the exact quote. Gets to the yard. I think they were on like the 3 or 5 yard line, and gets the touchdown, which was funny because he I mean, they were going to lose anyway. They're on the losing season, and I'm sure that he had incentives for the amount of touchdowns that he get. Honestly, I would have done the exact same thing. Hey, we're not good this year. Might as well get my money. But it was funny. He tried to fall on the 1 yard line, but fell inside the end zone. It was just very interesting to see Todd Gurley. Didn't look right. Had a pretty good season. Not top 10 by any measures. Definitely was a disappointment if you look at where he was just a few years ago. So he had 195 attempts, 678 yards, averaged 3.5 yards to carry, 9 touchdowns. He had 25 receptions, 164 yards receiving, 12 receiving touchdowns. He had 16 fumbles. That is huge for Todd Gurley. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That's his career total. Sorry. That's my fault, guys. Did not have 16 fumbles last year. I thought that was absurd. He had 2 fumbles last year, lost 0. So did fumble the ball twice, was able to recover. He did miss 1 game, so that was interesting. And like I said, definitely not what the production that Atlanta was probably hoping to get out of him. If you guys look, he's had 3,000 plus yard seasons in his 5-year career. So I'm excited to see what happens. Technically, it's 6 years because the NFL season is different compared to the actual years that they're in. So I'm excited to see what goes on in the Atlanta Falcons locker room. Like I said, they do have the talent. I just don't think they have what it takes to know how to win, and especially in the postseason. So definitely interesting to see. They didn't get a quarterback, like I said earlier in the draft. I think that was a big mistake. Yes, I know Kyle Pitts was a once-in-a-generation tight end, but you have to have a quarterback, and I just don't see Matt Ryan as the answer in this upcoming season or in the future. He's getting up there in age, and he's slowly but surely declining. And just this whole talk where everybody is now comparing themselves to Tom Brady is ridiculous. They weren't compared to Tom Brady when they were 30 years old. They shouldn't be compared to Tom Brady when he's 43 years old. Not everybody is going to make it to the age of 43, and the ones who do get close are very well declined compared to Tom Brady, as we saw this last season. If you guys look at Drew Brees, didn't have an amazing season, was slowly but surely declining. We saw Phillip Rivers wasn't able to get the ball out. You see this with Pittsburgh, with Big Ben. He just doesn't have the arm strength, and it doesn't seem like he's going to last that much longer in the NFL. We see this with Eli Manning retiring a little bit earlier than he probably wanted to. It's just, there's this whole notion where, oh yeah, give Aaron Rodgers a 3-year extension because he's going to play for until he's 43. No, it's not going to happen. I just regret to say this. It's probably just not going to happen. So I'm excited to see what the Atlanta Falcons have in their up their sleeve. Like I said, they have the talent. It's just they're not even in the hardest division anymore in the NFC. In my opinion, you did lose Drew Brees, so the Saints are a question mark. Carolina, they just traded for Sam Darnold. They're a question mark, even though they're a pretty good team. The only competition you have in the NFC South is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I don't see them dethroning them anytime soon. So I'm excited to see what they do. I just do not have high hopes for them. If I'm an Atlanta Falcon fan, I definitely would have liked to see Justin Fields holding up an Atlanta Falcons jersey up there on the stage for the 2021 NFL Draft. So definitely excited to see, though. They have the talent. If Julio leaves, that's going to be definitely a very different team and prospects, and how that team is going to revolve around now Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts. They still have Hayden Hurst, who is a very good tight end. So I'm excited to see how the chemistry works now that Calvin Ridley is going to be the number 1. Is he going to be a Juju Smith-Schuster, or is he going to be the next Julio for the Atlanta Falcons? I hope that he turns out to be great. I know that from what I've seen, when Julio's been out, he's definitely taken on the mantle and has been a very great security blanket. I don't want to call him a security blanket because that usually gives out to the receivers that don't get a lot of yards, and that's absolutely nothing compared to Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is an absolute monster who gets yards, gets past defensive backs, and is just an absolute monster. I don't want to compare him to Jason Witten, where he just catches the ball 10 yards, falls down, but he provides the same amount of security to Matt Ryan, in my opinion, that Jason Witten did for any other quarterback, even though Jason Witten never had the athletic abilities or the explosiveness of a Calvin Ridley. So that's very interesting, to say the least. So I think that Calvin Ridley is going to be a very good wide receiver. I'm excited to see what happens. I want to see Julio in a Ravens uniform, and I want to see what he's able to do with Lamar Jackson, if he's able to have Lamar Jackson take the extra step. But obviously, I'm just dreaming. Obviously, I want to see stars with stars in the NFL because this is what it's about. But I'm excited to see what the Atlanta Falcons do. Moving on, NFC, I believe it would be West. Yes. Moving on to the NFC West, where we have Robert Woods actually going to be wearing the number 2 jersey for the Rams and not Jalen Ramsey. Now, that's something that was very speculated between the Rams media and basically the NFL world was curious if Jalen Ramsey would go back to the number 2 uniform, since he had online publicly said or admitted or suggested, would rather be the right word, that he was looking at the number maybe changing to the number 2 overall. But turns out all the excitement is past, and Robert Woods is the winner of the number 2 overall jersey. So that's definitely going to be interesting. He did wear number 2 in high school and at USC. He did wear 17 recently in the past 4 years with the Los Angeles Rams, even though he did wear the number 10 jersey in Buffalo, which was interesting. So definitely going back to number 2, his roots, definitely a very good idea. He's not the only one from the Rams changing jersey. DeSean Jackson is actually going back to the number 1, even the number that he wore in college and at Cal College. So that's very interesting to see him going back to the number 1, the jersey number that he wore in high school and college. So it's exciting. There's more, obviously, I'm going to read out to you, but those are probably the 2 biggest players that have changed the number on the Los Angeles Rams. So that's very interesting, and we'll touch on the subject. I'm just going to name the other players that have changed so far their jersey number. Darius Williams, cornerback, for the Los Angeles Rams, went from the number 31 to the number 11, so that probably was because DeSean Jackson went from the number 11 jersey to the number 1 jersey, freeing up the number 11 that lets Darius Williams go back to the number 11. I think that was what would happen. I don't know if there was a number 11 already on the Rams, but I'm pretty sure, I know for a fact DeSean Jackson preferred the number 11 in the NFL before being able to wear the number 1, obviously. Jordan Fuller, safety, making the move from 32 to number 4. Corner David Long is now going from 25 to 22. So that's very interesting. And we touched on this subject a while back, where we understood the difference, and we saw Tom Brady making a big deal on Instagram about the jersey numbers being different and everything like that. And that we just want to talk about it for a real quick, and that's to reiterate where I am on this stance. I don't think it's going to be a huge factor for veterans or the true astute students of the game when it comes to the NFL. I believe, and in my opinion, whenever you look at a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, any player who puts in the time, and Adrian Peterson, somebody who puts in the time on the field, the jersey number doesn't matter to them. The player does, and they're able to determine who the player are just because of the number. And that's going to be very interesting to see the rookies, right? Like I was saying, so if you're really astute, it doesn't matter. You'll just see him in a different jersey. Oh, yeah, number 2, I remember that because that is now Robert Woods. It's no longer the number 17 jersey that he was wearing. It's just a number that's changing. That doesn't really matter on the defensive or offensive side if you get used to seeing them in that jersey. And I'm pretty sure the astute players will make that decision where they're like, okay, well, I'm no longer going to think of this player only in that jersey. Robert Woods is no longer number 17. He's number 2. So if I see number 2 on the field, I know for a fact that's Robert Woods. But if you look at the rookies coming in, if you look at the young quarterbacks, if you look at quarterbacks who don't put in a lot of time and effort, or defensive players, they can all get confused in that one split second if all they've seen in film is that one player. Let's say they're trying to avoid, or they're trying to cover, they're having their third wide receiver, second wide receiver, their third cornerback or their second cornerback who doesn't study the game as much, who's only seen DeSean Jackson in a number 11 jersey, or maybe even brain fart right now completely, Robert Woods. You see, let's say if they only seen Robert Woods in a number 17 jersey. If you're that second or third cornerback and you haven't put in the time and effort and got through the idea of, okay, it's just a number, it's not the player, and for that one play you get confused and you don't respect the speed of Deshaun Jackson, or you know the signature move of Robert Woods, but you forget in that one split game. Because remember, the NFL games, they're difficult to win. They're the most, in my opinion, the most difficult games to win because there's so many moving parts, and every game, most games, are decided on one play. So if in that one play you see the number 2 jersey and you don't put in much thought, that second or third quarterback who's covering him for that one play, and you know the signature move, but you just, in that one split second, you forget that it's Robert Woods, and you try to downplay for another move that he does, and he gets past you, that's a touchdown. That's the problem. And that's something that Tom Brady was addressing. I don't think it's going to affect Tom Brady as much as it will a third-string cornerback or a second-string cornerback, or maybe even a veteran or maybe a rookie quarterback, right? But when you see in that one split second and you don't understand who that one is exactly, it's going to be very interesting to see how people perform, how many mistakes are caused because of it, right? And that's going to be very interesting to see. The NFL's mic'd up now, so we're probably going to hear one or two cornerbacks or maybe a quarterback, a running back who missed an assignment, or a offensive tackle, a wide receiver, or whatever. They underestimate who they were playing, and they're like, oh, I forgot for a quick second that was Robert Woods, or forgot for a quick second that that's Deshaun Jackson. So that's going to be very interesting in this upcoming season when it comes to the NFL and what's going to be happening soon. So I think that's it for that story. Moving on, we have to talk about it. Tim Tebow reportedly has not been fully signed yet. Reportedly is going to sign as a tight end for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I know and I understand a lot of people are upset. I understand that a lot of people are curious. I don't know what kind of shape Tim Tebow's in. He failed as a quarterback in the NFL. Was offered a position of maybe a tight end, running back, fullback in the NFL, declined it, failed in the NFL as a quarterback, went to baseball, failed, never made it to the major league, and is now tried out a week ago for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I get why people are upset. I personally don't care enough because we are in the offseason and it's not a guaranteed roster spot. If he does sign, it's going to be contingent. I'm pretty sure. I hope not. I hope it's not fully guaranteed. But it's not going to be guaranteed. It's the NFL, and it's going to be contingent on making the rosters, bonuses, and making X amount of appearances, or having X amount of catches, X amount of blocks, or whatever you want to reconstruct that contract and what's going to look like. But just the idea that somebody can not play for about 10 years, go fail in another sport, come back and, hey, I want to give the NFL another shot at a different position. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen unless you're Tim Tebow. Now you can play the race card. In my opinion, it's mostly because of the connections, and that's something that happens in the NFL. It's something that happens around the world any day, right? You have familiarity with the head coach, Urban Meyer, who was his head coach in Florida. I don't think race has to apply, just because we've seen so many examples of players not being able to get a starting job, even a backup job, even though they've had more success in the NFL. Dez Bryant is currently a free agent. Dez Bryant was a way better wide receiver than Tim Tebow would ever have been, or could have been, or even was as a quarterback. I'm sure at this exact moment, Des Bryant would be a better wide receiver than Tim Tebow would be as a tight end. And Des Bryant is a free agent. We all have to talk about it. Colin Kaepernick not getting another opportunity. I think just the ability to get an opportunity, because that's what it is. It's not an official. He's not on the team yet, and he's not a guaranteed spot when the season begins. So we might not even see him in the NFL regular season. But the fact that he has the opportunity to even make a roster at this juncture and try out for the regular season is something so many other players, even at his own position, we have to think about it. How many tight ends who have been tight end their entire careers were passed up to have Tim Tebow try out? It has to be talked about. And like I said, personally said it at the beginning, I don't care enough, but I understand. I don't see the positive side. Unless you're a Tim Tebow fan, there is no positive side to him getting an opportunity. He was already at ESPN. He was in the, I believe he was playing for the New York Mets. Obviously not the major leagues. But there's no good that comes from him having the opportunity publicly. It's not a good look, and it hasn't been. If I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars owner, I would have come up to Urban Meyer and be like, hey, I know you want to. I know you coached him in Florida. I just don't think it's going to look good for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it's just going to take away a spot. Let's say he does make it. He's not going to be the first tight end. I would be shocked if he was the first tight end on that roster. First team tight end. And let's say he's probably not going to be because he has no experience playing tight end. Let's say he plays second or third string tight end. Well, then you have to play special teams. And if he is too big of a name and decides not to want to play special teams, then you're going to have to put the first team tight end in at special teams. And that's just disrespectful to that guy. I know for a fact they still have James O'Shaughnessy as their starting tight end. He has been a pretty good tight end if you want to look at it stats-wise. And it's nothing special, James O'Shaughnessy. If you look at last year, played in 15 games, so he missed one game. He started in 13 games, 28 receptions, 262 yards. That's 9.4 yards a reception, 0 touchdowns. His longest reception was for 26 yards. Can Tim Tebow be better than that? I'm not sure. I'm really not. There's some pretty good tight ends still available at the free agent market. If you don't want to look at the draft, maybe your argument is that the draft is they're rookies. They're not going to have the veteran savvy. They don't know what it is to play in the NFL like Tim Tebow. But I don't think that argument has a lot of doesn't have a good base. Actually, James O'Shaughnessy, I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name, might be a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. But Gerald Everett supposedly is still a free agent. Gronk isn't free agent, so this website that I'm looking at is not that accurate. I believe Tyler Eifert was selected to the Jacksonville Jaguars, if I'm not mistaken. I like I said, I just don't see the good in signing Tim Tebow when there's players out there who just haven't gotten the opportunity to show that they can still play. And there's nothing against Tim Tebow. I'm sure that he's a great guy. I've seen him on ESPN. I saw him, play the NFL. He had that one magical run with the Denver Broncos before they kicked him out for obviously the one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Peyton Manning. But I just don't see it. And to come back 10 years later, I mean, if you look at Tim Tebow, not the youngest guy. I was surprised, and I don't know if you guys knew this, but apparently last year, I don't know if you look at the exact dates, but last year, Rob Gronkowski and Travis Kelce were the exact same age. I believe that was 32. So if you look at Tim Tebow, age 36. 33. I'm so sorry. That was my fault. Age 33. It's very intriguing to see where everything's going. Yeah, Rob Gronkowski's 31. That's intriguing. When we saw everybody 2 years ago before this Super Bowl with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, everybody was saying Gronkowski was done. He was too stiff, too old, too slow. And he was 2 years ago, he was 29. And we saw him revitalized in the Buccaneers. Obviously, we heard the reports and him talking about how Bruce Arians was giving him the veteran treatment where he didn't have to practice every single day like he did with the Patriots. And I think we all saw that revitalize Rob Gronkowski a little bit, if not a lot. And we saw it, and it was a huge payoff. 6'6", huge man. Definitely needs rest. He definitely was injured a lot in the Patriots uniform. And I'm sure he's going to be the first to tell you that it takes a lot to be a tight end, especially when you are coming from a position where you've never had to fully put your hand in the dirt and play ball. Because Tim Tebow is going to have to block. Tim Tebow is going to have to run. Tim Tebow is going to have to get used to getting hit in the NFL. Remember, he went from quarterback to not playing the NFL for 10 years while playing baseball, and now is back. I can't get over it. It's just a different topic. If you really want to look at what it does to a person, it's very intriguing. But if you're Tim Tebow, I'm excited. If I'm Tim Tebow, I would be excited that I get the opportunity. I personally don't see it happening. I don't, like I said, I would be absolutely shocked if he becomes the number one tight end in Jacksonville. I would be shocked if he makes the roster in Jacksonville. But just having the opportunity, I get where other people are coming from. Des Bryant not being able to get a job, still a free agent right now. Definitely interesting. And you look at, everything that's going on right now, it's not a good look. So I hope he does well. I wish him no harm, no foul. If I'm the owner, definitely would not have made this move. Moving on, we have Aaron Rodgers. Again, we're probably going to talk about this for a while, and I'm pretty sure this is what he wanted. There are reports that the Packers have offered Aaron Rodgers an extension that would make him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. That's huge. If you look at where he is now, If you look at what he's done in the past few years, it's very intriguing. I know that he hasn't publicly asked to be traded, and obviously seems to have shrunk and hidden away from the media after putting out bombshell reports. Obviously, it might not have came from him. It might have, but it's it's intriguing to say the least how that's going to affect everything. Yesterday, I was a pretty big defendant of Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, I knew that his guaranteed money on his contract was over. I believed that it was the disservice that the Green Bay Packers have done, and they have, obviously, and it has to be addressed. It doesn't have to be, oh no, I'm on the Packers side 100%, and it doesn't have to be, oh no, I'm on Aaron Rodgers' side 100%, because they're both at fault. Aaron Rodgers hasn't given a discount and expects great players around him without sacrificing any money in a hard salary cap league. And the Packers have not drafted a wide receiver in the first round ever for Aaron Rodgers. That's not good. So they're both at fault. But the whole circus, the whole media circus that has came out has favored Aaron Rodgers. To be honest, no hate, no nothing, just pure honesty. Came out, a lot of fans, okay, we get it. Packers have been to the service. They did draft just Jordan Love. They didn't let you know. We saw Andy Dalton got told by the Bears that they're going to be taking Justin Fields. And that should very well put you in the spot where, okay, Andy Dalton gets the call, but not me. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm very heated. But the whole aspect of everything that's going on is very intriguing. I believed that Aaron Rodgers was genuinely upset, and he still might be, about not having the team similar to Tom Brady. Obviously, Tom Brady was a little bit more obvious, I would say. Bill Belichick was spending no time whatsoever showing that he was going to trade or release Tom Brady. Definitely was pushing him out of the door 2017. But we saw the ongoing battle between the Patriots and Tom Brady, or Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. And it was very similar to what we were seeing with Aaron Rodgers. Yes, they trade up in the first round to draft a quarterback. They don't draft a wide receiver in the first round. They don't draft a wide receiver in the first round this year, knowing everything was going on. And I don't care if that wide receiver is a bust. You take a wide receiver in the first round just to shut people up, right? Even if you don't agree with Aaron Rodgers, even if you are at war with Aaron Rodgers, their biggest argument against the Packers is that they've never drafted a wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers in the first round. Well, you could have done two birds, one stone there, but they didn't. They chose not to. That's fault for Green Bay. But what I'm saying is I thought genuinely, similar to Tom Brady, it was somewhat about the team. It was not about the money. It was about respect in the New England Patriots uniform. I don't know why the media chooses to forget, but there was a report in, I believe it was 2017, 2018 / somewhere around there, where they signed Tom Brady to like a 3-4 year, $100 million contract. Everybody was ecstatic. Everybody was jumping up and down. But when you got to the nitty gritty of it, there was no extension. And it was only a $3 million raise. And there was, like I said, there was no extension. So at the end of this contract, it was over. no matter what. And that if a contractor, or if my boss came up to me and said, "Hey, we're going to give you a promotion and we're going to give you a $5 raise immediately." And I come back that paycheck that Friday, or maybe the week after, and I see it's like a $50 raise. And then, yeah, we're still looking to replace you. I would be heated. And we have to think about it. That's their job. So we see the similarities. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is not a free agent. He has no say whatsoever in where he can or cannot go. He has no trade clause in his contract, from what I've heard. And now we're hearing that they're offering him, after his guaranteed money was gone in his NFL contract, they're offering him more money than Patrick Mahomes. And we have to note, Patrick Mahomes' annual income from the Chiefs' salary is about $45 million a year. So did the Packers offer 50? 46? 47? If Aaron Rodgers is complaining, making 35, 36, saying that they don't give him any help, imagine the roster that he's going to have making $47, $46 million. And I get it, man. Hey, if someone offered me $46 million, I'm taking it. I don't care if that means more work for me. But I know for a fact myself, I wouldn't start complaining. And that's what we've heard from Aaron Rodgers is his whole career has been complaining. We see the similarity with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's guaranteed monies came up, and it's done in his contract. And he starts chirping how he wants to leave, how the offensive line is trash. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing, not an exact quote. And I'm curious to see how that portrays, because I feel, in my humble opinion, that would be very intriguing to see how the public would take a look at Aaron Rodgers were he to stay in Green Bay with a $47 million a year contract, knowing that Tom Brady's average is 25. Right? We're all looking at Dak Prescott making 39, 40-ish. We're all looking at Deshaun Watson making 40, 41-ish. Patrick Mahomes has already delivered, and I believe he will continue to deliver. But you can't blame, in my opinion, you can't blame the Packers. They saw the decline, and frankly, it was there. They drafted Jordan Love in 2019, in the season of 2019. 3 years, two years prior to that, Aaron Rodgers had been declining, including 2019. If you look at 2016, his last good year before 2020, obviously, 40 touchdowns, 4,400 yards, 7 interceptions. A QBR, if I don't get it mistaken, 2016, quarterback rating of 104, QBR of 72. Then we fast forward to 2017, year he got hurt, only played 7 games, was 4-3. Completion percentage 64, so similar to the 65 from the year before. Only threw for 1,600 yards. Obviously, he was hurt. 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 97 rating, 66 QBR. Well, 2018 came around. Healthy, played all 16 games. 62% completion percentage, dropped 3 points from 2016. 4,400 yards, so similar to 2016. Only 25 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Now, the interception ratio is insane for Aaron Rodgers. And like he said, and he is 100% correct, my worst years are your best years. And we saw that. I compared Baker Mayfield's seasons, and very similar. Actually had more interceptions and a little bit less touchdowns than Aaron Rodgers in his worst year compared to Baker Mayfield's best year. And I'm sure Dak Prescott's number are very similar as well as Carson Wentz. The list goes on and on. So he has a point where he says, and it's true. But then we look at 2019, 13-3, 62% completion, 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 95 quarterback rating, 52.5 QBR. So that's 20 points lower on the QBR and about 10 points on the quarterback rating. It was there. The signs were all going down. Obviously, they did not anticipate the 48 touchdown season in 2020. The Green Bay Packers didn't. But I wouldn't have either. So if you see the decline coming and you prepare, and now you're held hostage, which I don't think they are because they're in the NFL. Had they been in a different sport, maybe soccer, NBA for sure, MLB, maybe those were run a little bit different. I haven't followed their free agency as much as the NFL, but it's intriguing to say the least when it comes to where they are as a team and as a franchise. And at this moment, if it's true that they gave in and offered him a $47 million contract, 46, I don't know. He said highest paid quarterback. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, 45. It has to be more than 45 in order to be the highest paid quarterback. But you hear the complaints about why he wants to leave, and it's because of the lack of talent around him. But he still wants to take more money in a hard salary cap league. It just, I don't see it. I don't like it publicly. It makes no sense to me. Other than, yeah, he only wanted his money, started acting out for his money, and he got his money. But I don't know. If I'm the Green Bay Packers, I'm not offering him more than 40. Obviously, I would offer him a little bit more than Dak Prescott. But to be honest, I would rather trade him and get the onslaught of picks and everything else that I can possibly imagine, because he's frankly been a disappointment in the postseason. Regular season, always phenomenal. Like I said, touchdown to interception ratio is always insane. But the postseason success has not been there. So like I said, I wouldn't offer him the extension. I would not offer to make him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. But that's just me. Green Bay, you're in a bind. Try to figure it out. Try to get 3 first-round picks and 2 starters. Try to trade for a comparable quarterback. Develop them. If you're still in love with Jordan Love, develop them. I just would not hand the keys over this quickly, because we don't know how long. And like I said earlier, we don't know how long these quarterbacks are going to last. Tom Brady's an outlier, and Aaron Rodgers has more talent than Tom Brady. So does he have the ability? Absolutely. I just don't. There's no mathematic. There's no stat for heart and desire and addiction and just intensity. And that's what Tom Brady has for his love of football. and we hear Aaron Rodgers talking about, counting the days that he works in the NFL and wanting to host Jeopardy and looking outside. I think last year he said he can see on the golf. He used a golf metaphor. I would be very cautious about making Aaron Rodgers the highest paid quarterback. That's just me, but that's what I would do. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. No, this is a very late episode, and I will have one up earlier tomorrow. There's too many topics to talk about the NFL in order for me to miss days. So keep it up. Thank you guys for listening. I'm going to try to keep it up, and follow us on social media. Anywhere Beyond Stats, look for the same logo. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.